Welcome back, guys, to HGC Korea. KSV Black had a really shaky first game, but they seemed to hit their strides with more comfort picks, a more normal draft. In game number 2, looks like clearly confirmed double support is not viable, G-Clef.
And also, Ninja Mission for that healing fountain.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the best strat.
The relic strat, man, I don't know.
I do not think it is the best one. You end up spending too much time. And if you're losing lane, if your structure is actually taking damage because you're missing from that lane, then I think there's a problem. If you have something like a Gul'dan that you can actually, if you have like a great wave clear like Johanna Gul'dan and all the time, then I think maybe you can have a chance. But in that game too, I don't think it was all worth it because the game never went that long.
There's also just the question of like the execution was much better by who was it in this last game, Judy, than it was by Relic yesterday, who accidentally aggroed the fort, for example. And even with like potentially the crispest execution, he still died the first time. He killed the healing well though.
He did.
And then the second time, like he got it, but they lost a fight at the camp they were trying to take. Like, yeah, there's certain things you could say, like wave clear. If you have stronger wave clear, it's less of a trade-off. Or if you're gonna play a more passive lane and not try to steal the neutral camp. Then like maybe it makes more sense because Genji being missing during that time doesn't actually have as big of an impact. But yeah, there's some questions for sure about its level of impact. But because we're still seeing teams do it, especially of course Ace, and now we're seeing formerly MVP Miracle. I always almost say MVP Miracle, and I say formerly MVP. Like I needed to finish it in my brain or something.
Yeah,
so
it's either MVP Black or Miracle, but we do have Miracle here. So.
But yeah, I feel like because teams are still doing it, it must be viable sometimes. It must be worth it sometimes because otherwise, like
sometimes.
Otherwise, when Relic did it like 2 months ago, we would have been like, okay, yeah, that didn't work, like, and then never see it again. But it's still seeing plays, so I'm guessing that it has its benefits. We know what the benefits are. Obviously, reduced healing, but you need to like trade and at least go even in fights.
You need to trade, and you need to have a team comp that doesn't really dive. It doesn't really fit the strategy because if you have something like Leeming or some poking from mages or even a Cassia, Hanzo on your side, then it makes a lot more sense because you can actually not fight, draw out the long phase, and then make them go back to the healing fountain. And they can't. And when you can, that's when you get the value out of it. But they had a dive comp.
And they also like got totally wiped every fight pretty much. If the fights are more competitive, then I think the value starts to show for itself. I completely agree with you. Going to Sky Temple here for game number 3.
And that Sky Temple is usually the map that Black picks when they are leading 2-0.
Or 1-0 sometimes.
Especially against the lower ranked teams of Korea.
I feel like when KSV Black decides, okay, I'm outclassing this team, that's when they go to Sky Temple every time. So I guess after game 1, they were like, ooh, that was a little bit of a closer game than we expected. They decided to go to a safer map there in game 2, that BOE, their comfort map. Now they're going to the more macro-based map. We'll see if they decide to take a global on this map. They're one of the teams that has been running Falstad and a little bit of the Haka, but that was towards the beginning of regular season, not so much in recent times. So first ban will go to Miracle here. And it is going to be a Tracer ban yet again. So this leads me to believe they're going for the Genji pick once more.
Yep, I do agree. Oh, Maiev ban, of course, was going to come out no matter what, unless they were really willing to test what Miracle can do on this map.
I think you're right about it coming out no matter what, because KSV Black isn't scared about Genji Uther, and the only way they could have tried to turn this draft on its head would have been to kind of ban the Uther instead and say, okay, you can take the Maiev, but we'll build a stronger draft around you know, Malfurion Hanzo, for example. But it is going to be the Malfurion first pick, so priority changing here. Back to the game 1.
They don't want that sustain going towards Black's side, but they're the one to ban Tracer, so she's out of the draft. And Hanzo, along with the Sonya, they are not really willing to give the Sonya away this time.
Yeah, they grabbed it early last time as well. With the Malfurion removed, Sonya just jumps up 1 slot exactly in the draft to fit into this hole. So Miracle, where they take this draft is a little bit odd now because you don't think of Malfurion as being a paired hero with the Genji. Genji's available, but KSV Black doesn't care. They're not interested. And Miracle, they can't run the Tracer. They banned it themselves. It feels like they've kind of put themselves into their own paradox here of composition building challenges. I think we're going to have to see something unique here. I'd like to see Junkrat be committed to. I'm going to grab Genji for now. This still can work. It absolutely can. But I think this puts KSV Black into a position where banning the Tyrael is pretty... It's pretty tempting, shall we say.
Also has to think about ETC. And Blaze already picked up, which has been banned. Both games, game 1 and 2, KSV Black was the one that banned Blaze as a second ban. Now Miracle has to grab that before, which means they can't really pick up anything else. They do have the CC from Blaze, and the solo lane already picked up because Sonya's already there. Black was going to snipe on that Blaze regardless. That has been the pattern. So I would say it's a great pickup along with the support end, but as you mentioned, they're losing that Tyrael now.
Yeah. So the funny thing about this ban for Miracle is it seems like the obvious Uther ban, and I think even with the point I'm about to make, it is still the Uther ban, but Black has just had no interest in running Uther, whether it's because Kyocha just simply doesn't feel comfortable, or sorry, not Kyocha, Sake doesn't really feel comfortable on the hero at the moment, or because Black just feels like he's overrated because of his long cooldowns and he doesn't suit the composition because he doesn't power Genji as much. I feel like even if they didn't ban Uther here, which looks like they're actually considering a Garrosh ban instead, I don't think Black will even necessarily take it, which is why I'm glad that Miracle has sort of identified this as well and are moving away from the Uther ban.
I don't think they should be banning Garrosh, and that means ETC Uther pair up that fits perfectly into Black's pick right now.
There you go.
Yeah, so I think a switch on to ETC or either one. But going back to Garrosh. Okay, I think this
I like your point though.
See, right? See, look at this.
I know, see.
That was basically given Miracle helped them to pick these two.
I mean, that was the fastest lock-in we saw since the double support in game 1, so you are very much on the money with this.
Because Garrosh is a soft counter to ETC, and they were the one trying to pick ETC, but you have to think in mind that they get the turn next. You have to switch turns.
The amazing thing about this is that it's got great synergy with Uther. This is the one reason why they would pick the Uther, right? This is the exact only one reason. And Miracle, they banned away the Garrosh, but what's Gunza going to play now? Is it just going to go back to a Nubarok? It's strong against the Uther. It's okay against the ETC. Can do a lot of, he's got a lot of interrupt potential, obviously, on the Mosh with his Impale.
I think there's way too much damage. It has to be either Morden or Johanna. I don't think a Nubarok can be paired up with this kind of team comp.
What about a Nubarok and Cassia? I think I could get behind that. The Blind's obviously fantastic last game.
Okay.
Oh my god. Blaze main tank in this comp. Dahaka solo laner. And they brought Tychus because of the very heavy front line of ETC and Sonya, but I'm not sold.
I think this is all the consequence that follow after that second Garrosh ban. I don't exactly know what they're thinking here. Are we going to see the adaptation? Maybe try to do main tank Dahaka in a way?
Could work.
Could work. There are not too many targets for that isolation.
Adaptation is so strong against damage like Hanzo's and Sonya's. You kind of have to just ignore Dahaka completely if he pops it, because Hanzo's just going to not kill him fast enough to kill him before the adaptation, and then we'll just give him so much adaptation heals. The Falstad is just a response to the Dahaka. They won't be out-globaled. We talked about Falstad before this draft even began, and I didn't think they were planning on picking him. But now that the Dahaka comes through, it makes a lot more sense. So they are going to lock him in as the final hero. We will definitely see some Falstad versus Dahaka this game. Sonya will probably start in the solo lane. Falstad will be just looking for roaming between the 4-man to grab as much seasoned marksman stacks as possible. Look, this, in theory, what Miracle has drafted can be quite strong. They have a lot of burst. It's going to be Genji has considered outside of Korea to be the counter to Falstad. You have Dahaka who can brush talk into really nice flanks to split up Falstad and Hanzo. Like Genji's strong against both heroes in theory, but I just feel like when you have Sony in the soul lane, which is quite strong, you have the Falstad disengage and boss control potential, plus the boss clear with the rich Hanzo scatter arrow build. I have to side with KSV Black's composition here. Not to mention the synergy with the ETC Uther you already talked about. It just feels like the draft is desperation out of Miracle.
I want to be amazed by what they are trying to do here, as that's already a good stack onto that simple geometry, thanks to H82. Okay, Dahaka going top, and also Blaze?
Okay, well,
Maybe
Dahaka's
just
probably just going to
brush
brush
talk
talk down then.
to the bottom. Never mind, Blaze is actually...
They're just being indecisive. If you watch the minimap, you can see that there's like there's clearly a lot of discussion going on in comms.
It is actually Taika's at the bottom lane.
Yeah.
Maybe they're trying to rotate Blaze around, try to bring that CC for that gank potential and some wave clear.
I was actually really, that's a really sign of a really experienced player. We saw Sniper pre-dodge the scatter arrow there and remain mounted. That's actually, I love seeing stuff like that at this level of play. He also knew exactly when everyone disappeared in the mid lane, that when he needed to go back, so he wasn't going to get picked. We've seen a lot of lane swaps with Tychus like this over the years, with Tychus specifically and Tassadar. Sonya gets bullied in the top lane because of Blaze's presence up there, but everything is going to start to normalize fairly soon, and that's when Miracle's going to have problems. They're not going to be able to easily control the lanes. They might actually get out-rotated by this Hanzo comp because the clear time is way faster for the side of KSV Black, as you can see already.
Though it is Sonya up there, and Dahaka can join into the fight, so Black's not going to come and invade. That will be very risky at the beginning of the game.
I think Kyocha's baiting HA2 super hard. He's going to have Spear in just a second. There you go. That's dead Dahaka, I think. Oh, he got the drag. Okay, never mind. He nearly died, though. That was really classy on both sides, actually.
It's rare to actually catch that on screen, the solo laning phase. And it's so important. Sometimes you give up a kill, but better to just hard back home and lose some EXP than dying. Of course, that was one of the better 1v1 we saw on the top lane.
Yeah. I know we do remind everybody of this about once a day, so this is going to be the one time. But if you guys go to hgc.playxp.com, you can watch any first-person perspective of any of these 10 players with the commentary overlaid on top of it if you wanted to. Somebody's watching right now, being like, I'm already here. I already saw that play come before even the observer did. But
226. Now that's
pretty quick.
That's pretty quick.
Pretty fast. Not a world record, but you know, we're approaching.
In a pro game, that is actually very impressive. And Rich can just do that. Oh, Genji takes a lot more damage. He almost dies to that scatter arrow.
I think literally if KSV Black were level 6, he would have died. Like, that was how close he was to death. Also, if Jaehyun had not instantly healed him, he would have been dead. Rich is fantastic on this Hanzo, man. SC, I think, finally has a worthy kind of adversary in terms of who is #1 Hanzo in Korea. This is really fantastic stuff we're watching right now. So, KSV Black looking to rotate over here to take control of this shrine, as we still have the solo matchup on the bottom now. The Falstad global matchup versus Dahaka is fairly even. We're going to watch this burrow super early. I think probably must have already used his tongue grab, or would not have been the case. Looks like this is actually going to be fairly even trade. Like, Black doesn't actually win too much from this. That skin is so silly sounding.
And even the bottom lane is not really pushed towards one side, so it's about even. Black actually will not get too much advantage off of all the early rotation that they committed in.
Okay, big dismounts coming through here for Rich on those scatters. Baiting Judy again. I think a lot of Genji players in this league don't understand that when Hanzo starts attacking you as Genji, it means you probably shouldn't dive on him because you've already taken 2-3 auto attacks of damage. You come in, you don't get enough damage done, then you die before you can retreat. You've already used your dash. We see this so many times. In this case, Judy doesn't go all the way in, but it's been it has been said that Genji dive counters the Hanzo, but I feel like the more and more we watch this week and in Eastern Clash, that is just simply not the case.
It is simply the matter of how good you are with that skill shot every single time. But in this small choke points, Hanzo will be having a fun time doing all the damage.
I mean, we're seeing it right now. HGC committing up here, eating so much damage from reset. This is definitely going to be camp cleared faster for KSV.
Oh, that face melt from TT canceled that jet propulsion coming in from Dunza.
Very low though. That armor helps keep him alive, but they walk away. Sake gets dragged here. Don't think he's getting out alive. Probably should just leave. Gonna add some extra heals into this. Rich super greedy. Now that they're showing the hero damage and stuff at the end of the game in the pro scene, like, you know, getting a few more auto attacks and that at least makes him look more impressive. So he's gotta get in there, you know.
That's right, you gotta build on that number. Every single attack matters so much. They lost Uther. Of course, they don't have too much sustain anyhow, but they don't have a global. HGC, if he loses the lane, oftentimes Sonya wins with the 1v1 against the Haka.
Dragged in the minion wave here. It's actually fairly close, but baited. Reset's coming in. Does Kyocha live? He needs to leave right now. Good dodge on that tongue drag. And down he goes. H82 was a close call. Reset reacting very quickly. It's really cool when your soul laner is a global. Or sorry, when your soul laner is up there and you have a global to support that can also soul lane, because now just Sonya can go do something else. Like she can go take the night camp. They do lose a little bit of structure damage here in the mid lane, but 10's up for both teams around the same time. Again, choosing this Tranquility, stronger against this comp than it was against the Genji comp earlier.
Okay, I'm not sure what happened. I guess Rich hit all the scatter arrow.
Rich is just like...
And Genji just blew up somewhere off screen.
He's not interested in Genji's talking to him, man. He's had enough of that. Genji's getting too close. Told him to back off. I guess I had to kill him, you know, he gave me no choice. He was coming up to me and swinging swords around, throwing shurikens at me. I just had to kill him. I had no choice.
Judy's been having a tough time in this game right now, against Rich's Hanzo especially.
Yeah.
All he did was to come in and try to take the aggro, actually taking so much more damage. Even the protect deflection coming in super late. Oftentimes, maybe it was on cooldown. Let's see how much better Judy can play in the later game. 7 minutes in now.
Yeah, you know, they have only lost one fort. They're a level down. But there's certainly a lot of ways to come back into this game. It's just that KSV Black is playing really safely in general. It's making it difficult to do that. Like HGC has never been able to get a big grab milestone when he got onto Sake earlier, their only kill of the game. The soul lane has kind of been pretty even, with the exception of that pick we saw earlier with Ballstad coming in through. They don't have vision of Tist right now. Okay, Gunzo's about to find out. So they know not to overextend here on the chase. Although they're going deep here. This might have been a mistake. Cleanse comes through onto Kyocha. Is on his way out. Bunker committed here. KSV Black could look to turn this fight if they want to use their Dragon's Arrow. Meanwhile, another one of these battles down here. Not going to commit to the Dragon's Arrow. Not going to look for a fight here. Ballstad could look for a flight, though.
Ghost locked in, of course. I think
yeah.
He's potentially looking for that angle. Of course, they do have Hanzo get stunned. Rich is going very low. Has to be Divine Shielded from Uther. They will be losing that fort because of that. Hanzo.
Judy, caught by that gust, though. There's the stun follow from Tist. Sorry to cut you off there, Jikoff, but the play was real. Like you said, he was looking for that angle, and he found it.
He found it with the arrow. The stun's connecting. And Judy... Is it his third?
That's his third death, I believe. Yes.
And KSV only has 3 kills.
I know that if it wasn't him who died to Rich earlier, he almost died because we were making the point about how Genji jumping onto a Hanzo in this league so far has meant bad things for the Genji more than it's been for the Hanzo. So this is going to be the bottom temple now after a long temple phase already coming up here. Sorry, coming up a bit later than you expect. But anyways, big commitment here, 4-man.
This has that mosh pit. They're getting so much damage though. No divine shield available. Was used on Hanzo previously.
This is a little bit unfortunate because he did go for mosh pit. Had he gone for stage dive, this could have been a pretty cool trade for KSV Black because he could just instantly come back. They still have the global and Falstad. I really like Miracle committing with their bodies themselves to actually get this fort down. Sony gets the faster clear on the temple phase. If ETC were alive, they could collapse to get more value. But because he's still dead, he's going to respawn in 5. Sony can only just push the top lane to maintain an experience lead. I don't think Miracle could have gone for boss here. It's just a little bit too risky. They don't have the clear time that KSV Black has. KSV Black confirms that they didn't go boss, and still rotating towards that area. Rich is just so good at positioning himself to get maximum damage. It's crazy.
Pretty hard to get all the hits from Scatter Arrow, of course, all the time. But notice how he's always nearby the wall. Even during the team fight, he will be off to the side a little bit to make sure he has the Scatter Arrow angle first. And then also, he can always escape from the danger. Like this, when the CC comes in, there's that small amount of time that you can press your D to go over the wall. That's the best positioning that you should always be taking as a Hanzo player.
Well, Dahaka finishes his quest now. It's going to have pretty insane regen. Very strong talent against Hanzo and auto attack Falstad, but
this boss will just melt down with the 16 with the Pierce.
Early Gust, though.
Very early Gust.
Okay, Judy's committing in, but look at the damage coming through, and that is going to be the boss taken by KSV Black. We have the Mosh Pit coming through as well. Gunza has a lot of armor coming out of there, but just not enough. And Falstad with a Divine Shield is going to kill the Genji. Judy looking for that final swipe for the kill. Not going to be enough. And despite that early Gust, this is such a big win for KSV Black. Almost a survive there by Kyocha. Will Sniper be traded? Yes, I think so. Killed by the Radiance there.
That range from Hanzo is pretty long, you know. And all the basic attacks will get that cooldown onto the W. Now the boss is already...
Look at the wave, too. Yeah, this is not a good look for Miracle.
And then right after this boss, they don't even have to actually go in and destroy the keep. They can just go for the temple. I mean, they have all the time they need.
Yeah, respawns are coming through now for Miracle. They used all their heroics, though. So there's not much they can do to stop this push. Gust is back up available as well, so they can use that to disengage. This should easily be the keep going down. Don't even need the Gust. They get out safe. Boss will go down, and they can go control the temple. Looks like they want to grab the, at least they were considering grabbing the Siege Giant camp here. Like Reset might just take it himself while we do have Kyocha heading to Knights. They want to try to force a fight again, it looks like, at the temple. Dahaka will come in globally. Reset, I think, will probably join faster without the flight while pushing mid. This is a fight that if Miracle loses it, costs them the game. That's why Black is posturing around this zone. Mosh is going to be up in 15.
They want to make sure they clear this camp because they have Hanzo, and it becomes an easy job. Clear this one, and then they can engage later on. Falstad is already pressuring into the mid one. Dahaka must be joining very soon. Power Slide misses Judy, dodge that, but meanwhile Gunza takes a lot of damage. Bunker has to be dropped.
Bunker does drop to save him. He gets that armor, but Reset with a good Gust here. This is going to isolate the Dahaka, who was burrowed here. Judy, Dragon Blade really only scratching the surface of Tist. Well, this looks like a fight that maybe finally Miracle could win. They need to continue to chase, though. They need to get kills if they want to win it. They win it per se, but they don't actually get any kills, which means KSV Black can rejoin, re-engage. Divine Shield is going to be the big factor in this fight because it can allow Rich to do so much damage, almost infinite damage.
Also onto the Mosh Pit can be a good pair up there. Close to 20.
Oh my god.
They don't even have to risk that Blaze blown up. No bunker available.
Double Mosh here. No questions asked. Judy zoned out of the fight. Sniper's going to go down without doing any damage. Judy dies again to Falstad. And that is GG here. That is the end of the series, G-Clef. KSV Black looked for the fight they wanted. They took it. They win the game. As Rich is trying to see how much damage he could take before they get on the core.
Rich actually takes that double trade on 20, and he goes with over the key with the stack. And the game was basically over after the team fight, but Miracle really pushing it. I thought they actually had pretty good team fight overall,
Wind tunnel.
but way too much damage and pokes allowed from Hanzo. It was really hard. The job from Judy was to take, not to take actually, no, was to do so much damage to Hanzo that he's out of the fight for some time, but that never happened from better positioning of Hanzo.
Yeah. Well, the double trait lets him jump twice, gets there in record time. They crush this game, they win the series. Not a big surprise as the gap between these teams continues to widen. Every single round robin we get to cast them. This will be the 6th time they face each other in round robin. And since the 2017 format, Miracle has not won a single series. So it'll be putting them at a 0-5 against KSV Black in round robins here in HGC Korea. Will this team ever return to form? You and I have been wondering about that for over a year now, and it just feels like each and every time we start to get faith, they change all the positions, change roster, and then we have to start again from scratch. I think that Miracle looked really good in Game 1.
Yes,
the rest of the drafts, though, KSV Black played a little bit more standard, and they struggled.
I think the reason why they struggle so hard starting from the draft is not only they are having the draft as a problem, how the order they pick their picks, and also how they ban. Very questionable for me. And KSV Black, they are on top, and we were able to pick up on a lot of the. We were able to read what KSV Black was going to do after the ban, and it's not just those, and also hero pool problem. I think everything's combining into a bigger problem for Miracle. And there was no solution to this for this amount of time. Maybe it's time to really think about it and maybe go back to what they were better at.
Yeah. You know, it's funny that you mentioned the draft because, you know, you and I are commentators. Obviously, we studied the game for a long time. We've followed, you know, all 10 of these players since their careers began. You and I have been commentating them for so long. But when the Garrosh ban comes through and you and I are able to see, especially you calling it out super early, how to us what immediately happens next is coming, I feel like that doesn't mean that Miracle doesn't know. I feel like this is just sometimes bad on-the-fly decision-making and misunderstanding of what their opponent's strengths are. And they definitely, I mean, they considered the ETC, which means they probably were considering the ETC throughout the entire ban phase. They made the incorrect decision, in our opinions, of course. That was one of the things we were most critical about in that draft. But I feel like this shows one of the benefits of having a fantastic coach. Noblesse, of course, the former player on L5, the coach now for KSV Black. Looking really strong in terms of the draft right now. Game 1 a little bit weird, but otherwise really strong. I feel like what Miracle needs is direction, and I feel like
they definitely need a direction. They're going all over the place right now.
Crazy Moving, I think, in the past was their direction.
Yes, I do agree.
He's gone now, but I feel like maybe they should give him a call, like, you know, the Baby Rage call, like, can you please come back? Can you coach us at least? Can you give us some advice?
Call the military service and make him come back? That's not possible.
I didn't know he went to the military already.
He went in a few months ago.
Oh, okay.
And you can actually write letters to all the Korean military service guys. Of course, you have to write in Korean and go through all the Korean process. But Google is available, so you can always take time and do it if you're a Crazy Moving fan.
I did not know he went already. I knew he was going soon because he retired, but yeah, they need direction, man. It's the bottom line, and I don't know where that's going to come from, but that I think is when you compare these two teams that used to be sister teams, that used to be on parity with each other in terms of level. It's the missing piece, and it's why they're constantly switching positions. Came back in camera faster than I thought. I have something in my eye. Switching positions faster than other teams, switching members faster than other teams consistently, and I don't know. I want to see this team come back to form. I really do. Fantastic 5-man squad. All the players are really good. 2 of them are world champions, or sorry, Korean champions. Just want to see this team come back to where it belongs.
Of course, it's our opinions, but the reason why we sound so toxic about Miracle is because we see their potential and how much of a
Sure.
better team they could actually become. But I don't. We both agree that they're not taking the best route to go towards that way, and that's why we're talking about directions here. But of course, it's the team that knows the best. I think that maybe they're having different opinions, maybe trying this thing first, and then the other one, plan A, plan B, maybe plan C. But right now they're having some misery right in this part number
Yeah.
2. And if they drop down even more, maybe there's a chance they will actually drop down to Crucible. That's the thing.
Would be really sad, I think, for all the fans they've had and built over the years. But only time will tell. This is one of their toughest opponents yet. Not a surprise to have them lose 0-3. Not any person would have predicted any other result. But they lack direction. So instead of beating a dead horse here further for this point, who is your MVP for KSV Black? Because for me tonight, it's Rich 100%.
Rich, of course.
And Tist is a close second.
And I do agree. But we haven't really seen anything flashy from Kyocha. Reset, of course, after that role swap. Reset used to be the one with the DPS, so he was into that spotlight most of the time. But after Rich going into that spotlight, Reset was often the DPS also, but a supporting DPS in lots of the time. We don't get to see his crazy moves all the time, but his Junkrat was alright. And he was supporting the team with Cassie all the time, so I'll pick Reset instead.
Well, based on the highlights we're getting here, I have a feeling that we might be seeing Tist, because we're watching all these moments of Tist surviving in this game.
Yeah,
I think he doesn't survive this time. Oh no, okay, this is a different fight than I thought it was.
Throwing in a past level 20 Johanna to start the fight. That's how desperate they were.
Yeah, it was. It didn't go so well at the end of that game. So we head into BOE's highlights. This was the Rich show. We did see the healing fountain go down here, but it cost Judy his life. Notice the camp take that happens right afterwards if you look at the minimap. Greymane and Uther are headed there because they saw the rotation up from KSV Black, but end up losing a member down there and gives 2 early kills to KSV. Healing fountains are down, but they never, ever, ever have a chance in any of these fights to have any sort of competitive fight. So that even though I think in theory, grabbing the healing fountains is good, in practice in this game it just simply was not effective. Nor was that sanctification, by the way. That was a little bit off.
Just to keep his teammates alive. A little too late. Oh, this was actually a kill. Not so. Judy did not have 3 deaths. H82 died once.
Okay.
But almost died. And this was a desperate moment. Bunker did help for a second, but because they went into the bunker, Tist was able to grab that boss.
Yeah. Mosh pit here. Good job taking out half the damage. Judy's can't 1v1 the reset with the... It's not really a 1v1. There's a lot of heals there, so... We're going to jump to the MVP interview. Sake will be selected as MVP tonight, actually. Not my pick, but to play a few different types of heroes. So, G-Club, why don't you translate this interview for the fans at home? Big cheer in the
Welcome,
crowd.
Sake. Congrats on your win, and Rich clapping super hard. He's a bad boy, but sometimes good. Of course, first question, how do you feel after tonight's win?
최근에 좀 저 개인적으로는 뭐라지 기분이 있잖아요. 좀
Recently and
열심히 해야겠다라는
personally, and you
좀
had this feeling. I had this feeling that I have to really try harder.
그런 기분이 안 들더라고요. 그래가지고 좀 나름 개인적으로는 의욕이 좀 부족했는데.
I think I wasn't really motivated coming in as much today, but after winning
갑자기
3-0, I think my motivation actually grew so much after having this game tonight. My energy level is like so high right now at the moment. I think this will start like a great teamwork for me to play in the team, to practice a lot more, and I think today's match really helped me a lot to get that motivation. Of course, as a player, after getting lots of money, of course your energy will rise up.
그러면은 이번에 블리즈컨 들어왔었잖아요. 네, 그 다음에 이 미드 시즌 난투에 전에 뭐 한 번 더 상금이 들어온다.
Of course, you're through
그러면 미드
BlizzCon.
시즌 난투에서는
You get the prize money.
그 폼이 유지가 되는 겁니까?
And whenever you get all that prize money, is that the timing that we could tell? If you play better, is that the time that you get that prize money after the tournament?
텐션업을 위한 그만한 게 없어요.
It really shows. Like I really gain that energy after looking into my bank account. I really get so much energy right after, and I think you guys can tell easily which day it is.
개인적으로 지금 본인의 포지션에 대해서 어떻게 생각하세요?
How do you think about your new role
지루합니까?
as a support?
잘 맞는 위치라고
boring.
생각하나요?
그냥 딜러 했을 때보다는 좀 편해요.
Compared to when I
뒤에
played
그냥
DPS,
할 거면 하면
it's
된다.
a lot more
그런데
comfortable, easier.
팀이 지고 있거나 제가 세이브를 못하면은 좀 무기력함이 더 심한 것 같아요.
And also
그러면은,
makes a lot of
지금
mistakes
그래도
because if
내가
I can't
대회에서
save
만약에
someone,
내가 원하는
it
포지션을 한다라고
really gives
하면은
me a lot of
그래도
disappointment
지원가인가요? 이제?
on myself.
이제는
아니면
지원을
딜러?
해야죠.
아 그냥 지원가로?
네, 이제는 해야죠.
네 지금 팀이
I'm
필요하니까.
still debating between DPS and
그리고
support.
지원가를
I have to
뭐
be the
이렇게
support,
기준에
you know.
말씀을
I
드렸는데
will
사실 오늘
sacrifice for the
보면서
team.
좀 특이했던 부분이라고 한다면 우소가 큐우소였어요.
아 네.
네, 좀 데미지를 밀어넣는 모습이 나왔었고 마지막에 또 타이커스 잡는 모습도 나왔었는데
And your
그
Uther at
특성에 좀 변화를 준 이유가
in game
있나요?
3, did you actually went to
일단
the
유럽
Q
경기를 많이
Uther?
찾아보기도 하고 일단 딩니타스가 유럽 1등이잖아요. 그래가지고 제일리아 선수 걸 많이 보는데
And we actually watch a lot, and I learned from Zelia, from EU.
지원가를 갖고 저는 원거리 딜러에서 지원가를 갔으니까 좀 뭔가 스타일이 비슷하지
And I think
않을까라고
it's similar because I was also range and also mage, and who became a support, and he's the same. I think our style
순간 포커싱을 할 때 그거를
style is about the
16에
same.
축복의 기도
So I watch him a lot.
네.
Q 2번 쓰면은 700 이상 들어가는데 그런 걸 하는 거 보고 이거 좀 괜찮다.
So with the talent, I saw his play
저는 좀
doing so much more damage with the talent, the build that actually lets Uther do so much more damage.
아직 지원가로 표현은 했지만 딜러의 성향이 맞는.
But still, as a support, you're doing maximum damage. You're always looking for that opportunity.
아니, 본인에게 맞는 거는 지원가이긴 하지만 그래도 딜을 넣는 지원가 쪽이 좀 맞는
Do
듯한
you
느낌이
still feel like you like to play support that does a lot of damage? I do want to be consistent in my healing,
많이 넓어지는 것 같아요. 그래가지고 딜
but if I get a chance to do some damage, I think I can
많이 보다가
broaden my
좀
sight
시간이 좀
around
지나다
me,
보니까 이제
and also
같은
chances
팀들의
to go
위치를
in.
좀 많이 보는
네.
것 같고 근데 까지 같은 걸 이제 코치님이 주시면은 이제 미쳐 날뛰는 거죠.
코치님
And if our coach Noblesse lets me play something else, then I'll
리치
just
선수
go wild in
벨기브.
the game.
이거는 뭐 등장 가능성이 있습니까? 이번에 리워크가 되면서 뭐 좋아졌다 나빠졌다 이런 평가들도
We're talking about
많은데.
Medivh.
제가 어제
Medivh
이런 경기를
has been
봤거든요.
reworked.
네.
아 메디브가
Is
그렇게
it
많이
coming?
나오더라고요.
Rich
그렇죠.
will be the one playing Medivh oftentimes.
괜찮지 않냐라고 해봤는데
We talked to Noblesse.
메디브에 대한
We're convinced. We're trying to convince
불신이-
Noblesse that
네.
Medivh is
어떤
really
이유
good
때문에
right now.
그런
That
거
he's super
안
viable.
좋아해요.
그냥 안
But
좋아합니다.
Noblesse
다른
does
거 쓰면
not
되지
like
않냐.
Medivh at all.
이걸 왜 못 잡냐 이런 식으로 해가지고 야, 메디브를 잡는 걸 선호하지 쓰는 걸 좀 비선호하는 것 같더라고요.
I think
역시
he
그
likes
팀
to actually
내에서는
catch
노블레스
Medivh off
코치의
guard
영향력이
instead of
아직까지 좀
using
크네요.
him. So we have to
저희
convince
팀
him a lot
고향이
more.
있는데 원래 노블레스 코치님 다음에 이제 리치였다가 이번에 이스턴 지고 이제 코치님 그 다음에 이제 리스 선수.
아 혹시 그 리치 선수의 영향력이 줄어든 게
Rich
그것 때문입니까?
used to be right below Noblesse, but now
아니에요?
네.
아 그럼 다행이네요.
Noblesse
아,
stands
네.
on top, and
코치님
then
이번에
it's
좀
reset
지고 나서
actually,
마음을 좀 굳게 먹었어요.
deciding all the
자,
ban
그리고
picks.
이번에 어제 경기에서
Did Rich dying
그
so
템페스트가
much
패배를
back in
하면서
Eastern Clash with
이
Genji
KSV도
affect
1등을
any
할수
of
있는
that?
가능성이 좀 생겼어요.
No, not really. It was
이 나머지 경기들을 다 이긴다라고 하면은 뭐
between the
똑같이
team, all the
2패 이렇게
information stays in the
되니까.
team.
1등 할 수 있는 가능성이 좀 생겼는데
Now with the
앞으로에
ballistics,
대한
ballistics actually
다짐을
defeating
들어볼 수
Tempest
있을까요?
yesterday. There's a
플레이가
bigger
좀
chance for you guys to climb up.
막 전성해가지고 1등 하면 좋긴 한데 그러면은
I think
사람이 하다 보니까
this round robin,
지쳐요.
if you win
네,
everything,
시즌
it is still
가가지고
very possible. But
하는 게
as
좀
I'm
지장이
still a person,
있을 것 같아요. 그래가지고
I think it's
그것도
going to be
좋긴 한데
very hard, and there will be some
적절하게
changes as
잘
the patch
치워서
comes.
미드 시즌에 체력 잘 채우고 미드 시즌
We'll make sure to do
저한테는
prepare
의미 있는 것 같아요.
best for every single match to prepare for the mid-season brawl. Also,
덜 빡세게.
미드 시즌 난투에 조금 더 힘을 실어주겠다라고.
you're already
말씀하신 것
focusing
같고요.
on the
그리고
mid-season
지금
brawl,
현장에 오신 팬분들
and
그리고
that's what Sake has been saying.
온라인으로 시청해 주시는 팬분들에게 한
Of
말씀
course, to your
부탁드릴게요.
fans in the audience right now and all the
제가
people
플래시
watching
때
online.
준우승 해가지고 너무 아쉬웠는데 이거를
Of course, we were the
계기
runner-up from
삼아가지고
Eastern
여러
Clash,
가지
but we will
경륜도
take
있고
this
하니까,
and we will learn and
다시
study from it.
텐션이 조금씩 오르고 있어요. 그래가지고 이번
And as we practice
풀리그를
more, our
시작으로 해서
energy is going up a lot more.
앞으로 계속 미드 시즌 블리즈컨까지 계속 좋은 모습 보여드리도록 노력하겠습니다.
We will go
감사합니다.
through this round robin
네,
and also
감사합니다.
to the mid-season
저는
brawl. We will
데스크로
make sure that
돌아가도록
happens
하겠습니다.
and also try to become the champions of the mid-season brawl.
Well, that was a pretty thorough interview, but it looks like Sake, despite not feeling like his new role is the most exciting, feels like it makes sense, agrees with Noblesse, and also feels like there's been at times motivation problems in the team, but they're in good form right now.
Whenever you open up that bank account, when you get that
Yeah.
paycheck, that's the day you want to go out party. But instead, he wants to go play more games. He's a pro gamer.
That's right, and everyone loves payday, 100%.
Yes.
Getting that second place in Eastern Clash, not going to feel as good as first, but mid-season brawl, it's coming up soon. We'll see if he can continue to maintain form with the rest of his squad. There's a chance they could get first seed if they can defeat Tempest and Ballistics. And with their new roster changes and Rich's fantastic Hanzo, which looks so scary, I have faith they could do it.
Yeah, very likely. And I think they have a big mission also to convince Noblesse so that they can use Medivh. I think Medivh could be actually a great card for them to actually play when they're going against like Tempest or Ballistics later on. Maybe that was a bait that Sake threw out, and maybe they're just going to use it whenever the big match happens. I think that it could be a trap card for all the Korean people watching the interview, you know?
Yeah, it certainly could. Don't get baited, guys. You never know.
You never know, and KSV Black, back when MVP Black, they were the team to always last pick Medivh sometimes. They had that trick, especially on Spider Queen sometimes.
Yeah. I think that we'll see it at least once.
Yeah, more than once.
Although
I'm probably sure.
I feel like it's technically Reset's job now to play it and not Rich, but Rich is the most experienced Medivh in Korea, period.
And Reset can also just switch back and forth all the time.
So that'd be just an interesting question. See how like hard lock they do with these role swaps. Because even if like we've seen a lot of crazy melees, like carry melees from this team since the swap, and like Rich is still not playing even the aggressive DPS as the Sonya, for example. So only time will tell, guys. But that will do it for our first series of the night. When we come back, we are going to have Blossom versus Feliz. We'll see you then.
His body was later recovered and